Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Yesterday, talking a little recruiting, we were talking about five-star prospects. We were talking about guys that Tennessee has a legitimate shot at. Looking at this tweet from On3 Recruits, five guys in that top 20 that Tennessee is realistically in it for, one of which already committed to Tennessee, five-star quarterback George McIntyre. We also talked about David Sanders, five-star offensive tackle. We mentioned Andrew Babalola. We also talked about Josh Petty and Caleb Cunningham. If you missed that video, go back and give it a watch. A lot of good information there. Jump into the comments. Let me know, who is your priority in the class of 2025 when we're talking about these five-star prospects. But what I want to talk about today, some of you guys say that's great, Boogie, that's all fine and dandy, five-star recruits, we got to go get some of those big studs. But who's next? Who is Tennessee trending for? Who does Tennessee have a shot at landing sooner rather than later? So I sat down, did a little homework. Who do I think Tennessee is trending for in this class of 2025? We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. But as always, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up just below this video. It's quick, it's free, it's easy. It does help the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media. We don't pretend to be any of that stuff. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. It was built on the backs of the fans. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. Got a fun live stream, obviously, tomorrow night, Tuesday night. We're going to play some NCAA football. We're going to talk all things Tennessee football. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Coach Jay versus Coach Rice. We're going to flip the script. Coach Rice has to take a defensive player. Coach Jay has to take an offensive player. That is a realistic target for the University of Tennessee in this class of 25. That's going to be a fun one to break down. Also, I think, I was talking to Coach Rice earlier today. I said, man, spring camp starts next Monday. Let's just go full steam ahead. Sunday night, 7 p.m. fan call-in show. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Myself, Coach Jay, Coach Rice. Maybe we'll get Dauber or the X Factor on here and talk all things spring camp leading up to the orange and white game. But enough shill, enough plugs. Let's get into it. Who is trending to Tennessee in the class of 2025? I'm going to start right here. With Ethan Utley. And you may see a little theme. A lot of in-state guys here, but you see Ethan Utley, a four-star defensive lineman across the board. Coach Jay did a live film breakdown. Actually not, it was a video film breakdown on him. Go back to the playlist for breaking down the film with Coach Jay and see what he thinks about his highlights, his film. But 6'3.5", 275 pounds out of Nashville, Tennessee, set to come off the board on March the 28th. He is going to make that decision. There's an interesting timeline here. We'll get into that here in just a second. So he is set to come off the board on the 28th. Dropped his top five back on Christmas Day. It's Michigan, Oklahoma, Syracuse, Tennessee, and Texas. Now, this is a scouting report from On3. Powerful interior defensive lineman who plays with violence and tenacity at the point of attack. Again, if you go watch that film breakdown, Coach Jay, in agreement here, plays with a little chip on his shoulder. Goes on to say excellent use of length in order to initiate contact against offensive linemen, scraps and claws consistently, never gives up when engaged with blockers, rarely loses the battle of leverage due to hand usage and pad level. Impressive bend for a player of his stature, measured in at 6'4", 275 during summer camp visits. Strong testing in the agility and explosiveness drills for the position during spring camp circuit. Goes on here to say he's got raw power that translates to track and field, as well as he threw 130-foot three in the discus during his sophomore track and field season. High floor prospect who will develop the nuances as a pass rusher with collegiate coaching and reps. And again, in-state kid, Nashville, Tennessee. But I think it's an interesting timeline for me. Set to come off the board on the 28th, but he's also planning to take official visits over the summer. This is the quote he gave on 3. I said, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. Each coach has created a relationship with me that makes me feel comfortable with them, and what will lead me to my decision is team culture. From the head coaches all the way down to the analysts, I want to be a part of a big family and a great culture. He goes on to say, I want to play with guys that buy into the game. That is something I'm looking at seriously. I have to live and be human where I go. So I want to play great football and win national championships, but I have to be in the right environment too. Now, he's going to set to officially visit Tennessee on June the 13th through the 16th. Also Texas on June 14th through the 16th. Now, VolQuest recently put out, they said Tennessee, Texas, and Michigan are the top three battling it out for his initial commitment, but it's clear to us he will continue to process the process no matter what. Now, you go back to February, Matt Ray, Austin Price. It's all stock up. It's all Tennessee's in a great spot. Sounds like Texas is pushing here late. Still like where Tennessee's at. Again, the On3 recruiting prediction machine. Take it for what it's worth. You can see there on the screen, Tennessee out front at 32.7%. But the way I read between the lines, what I see, I think Ethan Utley is trending to Tennessee on March the 28th. That commitment will be made official. We will cover it live right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network, so make sure you join us for that. But the process will continue after that. So does Tennessee lock him down on the 28th, and then they're going to have to continue to recruit him moving forward? Who's another guy that I think is trending to Tennessee? Well, it's another in-state kid, Jaylen Morgan. You see the profile on the screen there, 6 foot, 175 pounds, out of Murfreesboro, 4-star safety across the board. And something I like, actually it looks like his On3 ranking dropped. Interesting. That's interesting. No scouting report on him, but he's got offers from Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Florida, TCU. We did a live film breakdown last month. Let me actually let you listen to what Coach Jay had to say. This was Coach Jay versus Coach Rice. You got to pick who they were going to break down. This is who Coach Jay wanted to break down out of all the defensive players in the state of Tennessee. This is what he had to say about Jaylen Morgan.
I'll tell you what, man, this kid has everything I want in a DB. He's got speed. He's got intelligence at a super high level. He brings an absolute boomstick. The only travesty here is that there is only 4 plays, so I can't really highlight, 4. There are multiple sticks. Y'all do yourself a favor, no matter who wins this dang thing. Go watch both these kids' films, because I assure you both these kids are an absolute walking highlight reel. And they both just got so much talent. But
so that's the initial thoughts for Coach Jay on Jaylen Morgan. And again, go back and watch his film. But for me, if there's no scouting report, and the experts, the insiders, the guys that break down the game can't do that, I always go and I look at the offers. And again, offers from Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Florida. Chad Simmons, Jaylen Morgan plays a little football with George McIntyre, plays 7-on-7. This is what Chad Simmons had to say after George McIntyre's commitment. He says there's been a lot of buzz that Jaylen Morgan has been close to committing to the Vols already. Morgan and McIntyre have a relationship. They play for the same 7-on-7 team, and Tennessee is in a strong position to land this versatile athlete out of Murfreesboro. He was at least 2 Tennessee games in the fall, and there's a consistent communication between him and the staff in Knoxville. Morgan was offered in the spring of his sophomore year and has emerged as a top target for the Vols. Now, Steve Wiltfong, you go back to November of last year, Steve Wiltfong at 247 Sports put in the crystal ball for Tennessee to land the 4-star safety out of Murfreesboro. But again, you got to take those crystal balls for what they're worth. I think that's a true prediction. That's where Steve Wiltfong thinks Jaylen Morgan is going to end up. But now if he switches that this late in the game, that's when you start to worry about spoilers. Jaylen Morgan been on campus a lot, 5 times last year within an 8-month period. Set to be back on campus March the 23rd for an unofficial visit. No other visits scheduled yet. Going to get those on the calendar. His stock really started to go up his junior year. But again, I still like where the Vols are at. Plans to commit by the end of June. So I would go ahead and say that he is trending to Tennessee as well. I like where Tennessee is at with Jaylen Morgan. Now let's go take a look at another in-state kid. You see a theme here. We talked about the relationships, the George McIntyre impact, because Nico was a West Coast guy. He didn't necessarily have those relationships in-state or in the southeastern area, whereas George does. So 4-star safety Jaylen Morgan plays 7-on-7 with George McIntyre, trending to Tennessee. Now we look at Cam Sparks, 4-star wide receiver, also out of Chattanooga, also just so happens to play 7-on-7 with George McIntyre. Now, he talked to George. He was in campus back on February the 3rd for Junior Day. He's another guy, in-state kid that's been here a ton, visited 8 or 9 times at this point, but most recently was on Junior Day on February the 3rd. After the visit, he talked to George. This is the quote. Said, I actually just talked to him after the visit. He keeps telling me that it would be a lot of fun if we got to play together. I know he wants me there, and he says to do what is best for me. Now, again, Chad Simmons at On3 chimed in after the George commitment, talking about Cameron Sparks. Says Tennessee is considered the favorite to land Cam Sparks, and their chances to keep the versatile athlete home went up with this commitment. Sparks wants to play with a top quarterback that can get him the ball at the next level. McIntyre is that. They have a relationship. The two know each other pretty well. Auburn, Georgia, and some others are Tennessee's competition, but the Vols will have Sparks back on campus with McIntyre soon. Now, he dropped his top 6 back on February the 8th. That was Auburn, Georgia, Florida State, Miami, Michigan, and Tennessee. This is what he had to say about the Vols. Says, Tennessee was my first offer. I've been talking with them since I was in 8th grade. I really like the coaching staff that they have there. Now, he also plans to take some official visits over the summer. Definitely going to take him to Auburn and Tennessee. That came from 247 Sports, a quote directly from his mouth. But then VolQuest just recently put out that he may also take some officials in April. Could be FSU, Georgia, Michigan, all 3 pushing hard for him. But he plans to be back in town in Knoxville this spring. And he also wants to make it back in time to catch the orange and white game. But again, push comes to shove. You ask me about Cameron Sparks, I'm going to go ahead and say he is trending to Tennessee. Now, let's take a look at another one. This is a guy that I've not talked about at all on this channel up to this point, and that's Charles House. He is a 3-star defensive lineman, 6'3", 300 pounds, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, look at the On3 ranking. On3's got him as a 4-star. They have him as a top 300 player. So whose evaluations do you trust here? Well, I'm not going to go with On3 or 247 or Rivals or ESPN. I'm going to go with the best defensive line coach in the country, and that is Rodney Garner. He dropped his top 6 back in February: Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Miami, FSU, LSU. So again, 3-star you. That was the video yesterday, was to argue that point. People want to talk about 3 stars, no scouting report. So what do? Once again, I go to the offers list. He's been offered by Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, LSU, Georgia, Michigan, Auburn, Florida. I think those are some pretty good offers. As a sophomore in high school, he had 40 tackles and 5 sacks, also blocked a punt and blocked a field goal. This past season, he was all-conference selection, had 22 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks in 10 games. Tennessee offered back in September of last year. He made it in town for the Texas A&M game, and again, that was a great environment, a game that Tennessee went out and won on defense and special teams. He also returned. He was in town for Junior Day last month. Thoughts on 247 Sports of that visit. Says, I love everything about it. It's like a big family there. I met the coach's daughter, just talking to her, the conversations, felt like I'd been there before. Everybody is just happy, the energy. It's a great place to be. The coaches, all the staff, they're just great. My relationship with the coaches is strong. Scheduled to be here for an unofficial on April the 12th. Then he's going to return for an official visit on June the 14th. Also planning to visit UGA, Florida, and FSU. But again, you look at the On3 recruiting prediction machine. Does it mean anything at all? They've got South Carolina way out front. All of my research, everything that I've looked at, Tennessee seems to be in a really, really good spot for the 3-star defensive lineman out of North Carolina. Most recently, scrolling through VolQuest, what they had to say about Charles House, says it feels like a springtime decision. He has bonded well with Coach Chop. As we head into the early March, it's hard to not like Tennessee in this race. So does that mean Charles House is also trending to Tennessee? Wanted to make a quick update video. And again, the last couple of videos been a little bit longer, trying to cover more targets, more prospects, instead of just jumping on and talking about one guy. You guys let me know in the comments. Do you like the longer form videos, or you want me to dial them back down to 9 or 10 minutes? You let me know. It's your channel. I appreciate the support. Smash the thumbs up on the way out the door. Go check out the Talkin VAWLS merch at bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. That link's in the description below as well. Again, we're planning a whole lot of fan call-ins coming up throughout spring. Make sure your memberships are up to date. Hit that join button down below. You can do it for as little as $1 per month. We would appreciate that support as well. But that is going to do it. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.